Hey everybody, you guys have been asking for it. You wanted more mermaid content for YouTube, so here it is. Welcome to Mermaid Overload, the show where we go over everything mermaid. Today we're looking at our top 10 tips to be a better mermaid model. These are in no particular order and these are my opinions. I am a professional model, marine biologist, and merman, and these are things that I've learned both on sets as a photographer and as a model. Tip number 10, keep it simple. I see this especially with new models and new mermaids. They are so excited to get dressed up. They have the mermaid bra on, they're wearing a wig, they have a crown, they have different crazy props. They have the seashell, they have the mirror. The big issue I see with this, mermaids get too concerned with the prop and showcasing the prop. Unless you're doing a specific product placement, you do not want to get tied up in your props. It distracts from the overall quality of the image. So the first thing I'm going to show you guys is how to properly pose with something underwater. Here we have my Mr. Hawaii crown. I see a lot of mermaids make this mistake. They get all cute, they have their crown on, they're at the surface of the water, they're going to go under and start their modeling, show off some great poses. As soon as you tip your head down, guess what? Your crown is coming off, your wig's coming off, you're going to look like the Grudge. It's not cute. So, first, number 10 tip. You're going to go down holding your crown, swim into place, come up, then place it. If it's something like this that will just slide off, turn it into a pose. You're going to leave your hand up here, soften the hand, make it a little bit more elegant, elevate the photo, and there you've got an underwater crown pose. So don't get tied up in all of the props. Leave a lot of them at home. We want to make sure that you, as the mermaid, look as good as possible, and then we'll add props and things to play with. If the prop is not adding to the overall story or quality of the image, leave it at home. You don't need it. You're beautiful just the way you are. Tip number 9, mermuffin tops are a thing. We all have a little, skin, fat, extra love, Ben & Jerry's that just sits kinda right here. And if you're doing a pose and you're feeling all of your Little Mermaid realness and you bend over like this, you will have a mermuffin top. It's not the cutest look for most of us. One of the ways that we can work around a mermuffin top, you're going to have your tail, and as soon as you sit down into your pose, you can actually take the waistband of your tail and move it up just a little bit. This actually helps smooth out the scale pattern on the side of your tail so you don't see any wrinkling there, and gives you a nice clean line that merges your body to tail. We always want cleaner, smoother lines with all of our photos. One other trick I have for you guys, if you do want that bent over moody look, which you do see in some great mermaid art, but you don't necessarily want us to have this visible little right here, this little inner tube of fun, what we can do, when we turn to the side, you can hold yourself. And this is one of my go-to poses. I'll bring an arm around here so it looks a lot moodier, but I'm also going to keep this arm covering this area. And if we're going to even go for it more because we really want that overly dramatic, I'm holding myself because I'm overwhelmed with my mermotion. You're going to bring it up here and you're going to hold like this. Use this arm, cover the muffin top. There we go. So that is tip number 9, cover your mermuffin tops. Tip number 8, tell yourself a story. One thing that drives me crazy, and this is with land models, this is with mermaid models, when you can tell that someone's trying to have their model face, but they don't really know where to look, and they have this weird staring at nothing. One thing that helps get rid of this is to tell yourself a story and make the photo part of a character experience. So we're going to use lovely Dungenessa right here. If I am posing with a prop like this, one thing I see a lot of girls do wrong in different models is they're here. And I don't know why you're not actually looking at this thing that you're supposed to be interacting with. Dungenessa is my magical sea unicorn, and I am on a mission to help her find true love. So if I'm going to pose with her, you will find love. You will find love one day. And this right here, maybe I'm in love with you. I don't know. This is a better photo. It's a stronger photo, there's interaction, I'm actually looking and focused on the prop. That does make a big difference in photos. And you can start to pick it with these newer models where you can tell that they're not actually looking at something, or they're, why are you doing this? Relax the body into something that is natural and makes sense. Tell yourself a full-blown story about how Dungenessa was a magical sea unicorn and her father was kidnapped by an evil octopus, I don't know why, because it just felt like it, and you are the only savior for this magical stuffed sea unicorn. And then you have feelings and emotion, and it just makes a better photo. That's tip number 8. Tell yourself a story. Mermaid tip number 7. Feel the light. It is really hard when you're underwater because you can't get feedback from your photographer. They can't talk to you, it's all like, and we have bubbles everywhere. So you need, as a model, need to get really comfortable with finding your light and knowing how to sense it. Even if you can't open your eyes underwater and you're not comfortable with that, you can still feel the light hitting your face and hitting your body. Especially if it's a warmer, sunnier day out, you can feel it all along your body. When you are doing any of your mermaid modeling and you go deeper down, even if your eyes are closed, you're going to feel like, oh, I have sunshine right here. I know if my sunshine is right here, it's going to be lighting this side of my body. So I want to elongate my body, my mermaid tail over here, and now this whole part of my body is lit. You will also be able to feel it on your arms. So I know if the sunlight is coming from here, and I feel it all on here, if my hand is right here, it's going to be dark. And if I don't want my hand in shadow, I need to extend it up to a point where it will catch the light as well. So learn how to feel the light underwater, and that will immensely elevate your photos and your posing. Tip number 6, bananas and Band-Aids. If you know that you're going to be in the water for more than an hour, especially in a monofin, it will rub, you will get blisters, and you will cramp. To prevent this, the night before you want to eat a banana, the potassium in your banana will help prevent cramping. Make sure you hydrate, drink like 32 ounces of water the night before your shoot, and then the morning of, have another banana if you're going to eat in the morning, and drink some more water. Tape your toes. I cannot stress this enough. Tape your toes. Because if you're paying money to go out on a boat and have a photographer and do all this stuff, you don't want to be like the little punk mermaid crying because your toes hurt because you didn't tape them and you didn't put Band-Aids on it. So you can use a Band-Aid, tape every single toe. You can use waterproof adhesive tape. Again, wrap your toes or dive booties, whatever you have that is comfortable that will prevent that blistering. Trust me, I have scars on my toes, on my feet. It's not cute from mermaid accidents and mermaid photo shoots. Don't be me. Do better. Tip number 5. If you can't open your eyes underwater, then don't. If you're not comfortable with opening your eyes, you'll have this weird, ugly, squinty face, and I see so many mermaid and underwater models do this. Where it's Don't be that fish. If you're not comfortable with opening your eyes underwater, one easy trick around it is you're going to hit your pose underwater. So say I'm rising up from the depths of the ocean, and if I've been shooting for a long time and my eyes start to smart and it just stings a little bit, it gets really not cute and squinty, and you see this tension right here. So instead of trying to keep my eyes open when I know I can't, I'm just going to close them and instead do something like this, where I have a hand up and make a really long, relaxed pose, or even something like this, where it just looks relaxed, and having your eyes closed actually adds to the photo. You can still get great photos without having those eyes open, without having that tension here. So again, if you cannot open your eyes underwater for a photo shoot, don't bother. Close them and make it beautiful. Tip number 4. This is specific to underwater. Nose bubbles are a thing. Nose bubbles always happen when you dive down. A lot of the time you won't necessarily feel it, but you'll have these nice little silver, super reflective bubbles that just stick right here. When you go down for your photo shoot, once you're ready in your spot for your pose, and you've got it, you're on your mark, you're ready to go, wipe your face first, and it will wash away those nose bubbles so you don't have these awkward silver bubbles distracting in your photo. It really sucks when you have this great photo, everything else is beautiful, and bubbles. Don't have nose bubbles. Wipe your face once, just and you're done and good to go. Tip number 3, grudge hair. This is specific to underwater, or when you're trying to do that majestic Ariel as she rises up from the ocean and flicks her hair. Grudge hair. It happens, especially if you're underwater. What a lot of girls do is they will swim down and then they swim towards the camera, and then they stop for their pose, and their hair keeps going and whooshes, and then you have this awkward poof that looks like a troll doll mixed with like the grudge girl, and it's just not cute. In order to avoid grudge hair, one thing you can do, swim down, especially for you girls with longer hair or male models with longer hair, hold it in your hand all bunched up to one side. As soon as you get down and you stop in your pose, then you can let it go and sort of sweep it in the direction that you want it to flow. Your other option, instead of swimming down and going straight towards the camera, you're going to swim down at an angle to the camera, and then when you stop, a lot of the time your hair will keep traveling, but you're going to twist your head, and this little twist motion is going to keep it flowing past you, in a nice direction rather than a poof or a foof. We don't want that no grudge hair. It's not cute, mermaids. Tip number two. Only two. Go slow. I see this happen so often with people's first underwater mermaid photo shoots and just underwater modeling in general. It's not the same as land posing where you might be like hit, and you're gonna cycle through some faster poses. Underwater modeling, you need to go slow. A lot of the time, know the pose in your head. Like if I'm going to go down and go for like an Aquaman like power pose, I know I want to swim down, hit this pose, and freeze. Because your underwater photographer is likely going to have to dive down with you. They have to get in position. You don't want to be down in your pose and then moving on to the next pose before your photographer is ready for you. Go slow with your poses. If you do decide to change from, say, here to here, do it slow, make it a moment. Count in your head. You will try and go faster. So especially when you are underwater, make sure you go slow, give everybody the time they need. You need to swim down, get ready, be in your pose. Your photographer needs to swim down, get ready, get focused on you, make sure all their settings and lighting are correct when they're in the moment. Give them the time to get the great shot. You will have much higher quality of photos and you'll have many more of them by taking that little bit of extra time and letting everybody set up. Number one, I said these were in no particular order. This is the number one thing that underwater models should never do. If I see you doing this, like a little part of my merman soul will have died off because you didn't listen. Breath hold face. It is real, it is ugly, this is not cute. Do not do it. I have seen people who would call themselves professional mermaids. A lot of them are great entertainers, they are fabulous, but you get them underwater, they're supposed to be posing and they have... No, this? Relax the lips. One of the biggest tips for not having breath hold face, you're actually going to open your mouth a little bit. One trick, stick your tongue to the roof of your mouth, just like, and then relax the lips. You can keep water from getting in just by keeping that tongue stuck up there and sealed. Having your mouth open even slightly relaxes everything in your face and you look a lot more relaxed, a lot more mermaidy. It's more elegant, more ethereal. You want that look in your photos. You do not want... Any tightness betrays that you're not comfortable, and it comes across in photos really strong. No breath hold face, fishes. No breath hold face. Got it? Tip number one, relax that face. Don't, If you feel yourself starting to do it, blow out a few bubbles and relax it again. That is one of the easiest ways to reset. A lot of the times, just that motion of blowing out bubbles makes for a really pretty photo in itself, because it has some motion, a little bit of extra texture is then going to be added to that photo with your little exhale. Again, tip number one, do not breath hold face. I will be very disappointed in you if you do. And that is it for all of our mermaid tips. If you guys liked it, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be doing a ton more mermaid content. Feel free, shoot us some comments. We want to know what you want to see, if there's anything you like, if there's anything you didn't like. Tag us on Instagram. I'm going to add all of ours right here. Yeah, feel free, send me all of the photos. I want to see your beautiful underwater mermaiding photos and above water. Whatever makes you happy, please share it, especially now. I want to see more beautiful things in the world, and I want to help everybody who is interested create more of that art.